A city's creative identity is shaped by its artists, craftspeople, and designers, who also have an important role to play. They continue our age-old urge to create and to make things by hand. And in an age of mass production, work made by hand may be more important than ever. My name is John Baker. My wife Julie and I own a design store and exhibition space in Toronto. We believe that well-designed, beautifully crafted items have the power to enhance our everyday lives. In this series, I'm going to meet some of the people whose handcrafted production is shaping this city of makers. Sarra Tang is a designer who established her company, Hoibo, in 2006. Sarra designs and produces bags, clothing, and other items, which she sells through her store in Toronto's Distillery District. I went along to the store to meet Sarra and find out more about her work.
So I think a lot of people, when they think of Hoibo, they think about your bags, which have become kind of iconic here. Can you describe what the bags look like?
Well, I think the bags actually vary a lot in their aesthetic, but I think that really what I think people know me for is the process behind the bag. Our dry wax fiber, people have really associated that with the brand. What we do is we start with a raw canvas, and each piece is individually hand waxed with pure beeswax. It usually happens in a couple different stages, and it happens over the course of a couple days. The process is very unique and special to me, and it's been something that I've worked on for 8 years, and it's something that I continue to work on, and which I think I'll always continue to work on.
And what's the main benefits for
It's, you know what, it is water and soil resistant, but at the end of the day, it really is about a textile-based bag that just evolves really, really beautifully. It's really got a really beautiful sheen to it once you start to use it. You can see the patina starting to develop probably about maybe 4 to 6 weeks after you start using the bag.
In the distillery, you had kind of a workshop here, and it's kind of evolved to a retail space.
Yeah.
And now you have your own kind of work studio.
I do, yeah.
Can you tell us about how the company's progressing, how it's growing?
Probably for about the first year and a half, it was just me. So I used to hand dye my own fabric, I'd cut all my own fabric, and I'd sew all my own fabric. From conception to sale, like I just kind of did all on my own, and being the only person doing everything just didn't give me enough time to be able to really work on ideas, which is what I was really truly interested in. So it kind of left me with the only option, which was to create my own studio for my own work. All the processes of how the work is even crafted is, I do all of that still, and I can't really imagine even getting to a point where that's something that I no longer do. It's been a long personal journey almost, just kind of getting from one person to more than one person, because that would imply that I have patience and that I am a good teacher, and neither of those things are true. So the people that work with me are really amazing, and between us, we make everything that comes out.
And what do you think about the handwork, that work, how does it add to the product?
I hand work the things that require hand work,
Yeah.
because they can't be done on a machine.
Yeah.
And I think that there's some things that you want to accomplish, like from a visual aesthetic perspective, that just require that hand touch. And those are the things that should be done by hand. To marry what's happening currently with technology and the things that need to be handmade, I think is a really wonderful aesthetic for me. It's a balance that I really work towards. I think lately, especially ever since the term maker or craft has kind of been very heavily popularized, a lot of people are kind of making things by hand for the sake of just making something by hand.
Yeah.
Instead of really recognizing when perhaps something doesn't need to or shouldn't be done like that.
So can you take us a little bit into your process? Like where is your starting place?
I am really process oriented. So A lot of the times I'll end up creating the process of how perhaps the handle's going to be set in, and then take that concept and wrap an aesthetic around it. So like I don't design something and then try to figure out how I'm going to make that. I create a process and then figure out what I'm going to make with that process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about prototyping?
What about it? I prototype all the time. I have a million prototypes. Do you
And
want one?
Yeah. And you wear it. I mean, you.
I do. I use everything that I make, because I think that even though you've done it 100 times, there's little things that you just, even the most experienced person is going to overlook sometimes. So I really feel really responsible for the products that I put out there, and I want people to enjoy them, and I want people to get, really enjoy using the pieces. That I really feel like I need to test them before I actually kind of release them to the universe. Yeah.
Longevity.
The longevity of something.
Is that an important quality?
I think it's always an important quality, right? Because I think
you would think so, but
no, I think it is.
No, but I mean, when you think
let's get
about
real, like nothing lasts forever.
No.
But I think that it's about how something ages. I design with how it wears in mind, like the dry wax carry. I mean, the way it is when it's new is definitely not what it looks like 2 months down the road or 3 months down the road. There's a beauty in aging, right?
Yeah.
And even though things aren't exactly as they were when you first bought them, perhaps the question we should be asking ourselves is should they be like that? Right? And is that actually better?
Do you think Toronto's a good city to be to do what you do?
I love Toronto.
Yeah.
I kind of can't say that enough. I love that Toronto is big but not too big. Like in New York, I can only imagine how difficult it would be to get started, because, well, how do you rent a space?
Totally.
Like, really, it's just, in Toronto, you can find a way to start. Like, where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
And I think you can really say that in Toronto, where I don't think you could say that in a larger city.
I think people feel it more. Like it's easy to kind of get people talking about your work or exposure of your work.
And I think that people, and especially a lot of young people, are really innovating ideas in terms of how they're going to get their work out there. I think Toronto's really incredible for that.
Should we talk about what you're doing next?
I'm building a studio in my backyard.
Yeah.
Me creating my own studio now is the realization that I live and breathe what I do. I kind of can't get enough of it. Like, that doesn't mean that I'm going to bring back the production side of my studio to my space.
Yeah.
But I really want to have my own space where I can work, like develop ideas and be surrounded by them, really. And nobody else is allowed in the space. So that's a really key point too. So it's just my own personal space that I can incubate ideas.
Amazing.
And continue to work on them. Yeah.
Thanks for talking to us today, Sarah.
Thank you so much. Thanks, John.